Welcome to the Podium Proof F1 podcast. My name is Frank Alessi.
I'm David Alessi.
That is a wrap on 2022, and it seemed only fitting that Max Verstappen wins the finale, making it 15 on the year. Ferrari looked stronger with Charles claiming P2 in the race and the season, and Mercedes showed they still have some work to do this offseason. Let's get it.
What a season this has been. So, welcome everybody to not the final episode of our season, but final episode of the race season.
Welcome to another edition.
Another edition of F1 Super Fans. I'm David. Oh man, I was trying to figure out how to take that thing the whole distance, but I couldn't get it.
You would have had to do a little work on the front end of that one.
Yeah, I didn't have that one prepared. I was hoping it would kind of just come naturally, but it didn't. So, well, what a race that was. Had not so much excitement for Max, but a bunch of excitement elsewhere. You struggling a little bit over there,
bro? I don't know why. It's like
I need a shim.
I need a sugar packet.
A little wobbly there.
Yeah.
Yeah, another win by Max. No big surprise there. But like I said, definitely some excitement further down the order. And we'll get to that here in a minute. So if you're catching this on YouTube, do us a favor, hit that like and subscribe. We appreciate it. If you're catching this on the podcast, there will be a link to the YouTube video in the description. And be sure to find us on social media. There will be a link to our link tree on both YouTube and the podcast, as well as a QR code right there in the YouTube video that will also take you to our link tree. So find us, follow us, share us, DM us, any of the above. And all right, let's get into this one. Let's start off with what you got there in that yellow label bottle there. Came out of a nice tube.
So I figured, being it's the last race of the season, that I would go back to the bottle that I did for the first episode of the podcast that we started this season. Little Colonel E.H. Taylor single barrel. I don't break this one out too often, so this will probably be the last time I touch it this year.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea there. I kind of like that. We did both start on the bottle of single barrel.
That was a healthier pour than I meant to do.
Might join you in that for my second pour. As for the first, we'll be doing another fresh cork pop. Let's see what it's going to produce.
Nice.
That was good.
Nice.
Good indication of what's to come. So this is a bottle of Peerless. This is their small batch. Comes in at a 110.7 proof. And I have never had this before. I've never actually seen it as far as I know, unless I've just been missing it this whole time. It appears that it just came to Virginia, to the ABC stores. I happened to see it last week, so I snagged a bottle of it. We'll see what it's all about.
That's one I've never owned a bottle of it. Just never pulled the trigger on them.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things. So it was one of those things like I saw it in the store and kind of had the thought of, oh, hey, that's new to here. It may not last. It may disappear. So let me just go ahead and snag it while I can.
And it's kind of, unfortunately, that's the way you got to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want it to be like the JD barrel proof rye.
Oh,
When every time I saw it, I was like, I got enough stuff in my hands. I'll get it on the next run. And then I did that, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. And then when I went to go get it, it was gone from everywhere.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
Heartbreaking.
that was disappointing.
Yeah, that's the one that got away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And what's even worse is I've had it many times, and it's so freaking good.
Yeah. I've never had the barrel proof. I've had just the single barrel rye, and it's awesome. I actually don't even have a bottle of it, but I've had it.
It's one of the best that I've ever had. Crap. Give me 2 seconds here.
Yep. All right, let's see. Give this a minute to kind of open up here in the glass. First pour out the bottle, but I'm kind of impatient. So let's see what we got. Need to let it open up a little bit, I think. But
yeah, I would imagine.
First sip. First sip, it comes off a little hotter than a 110 proof. We'll let that sit and breathe a little bit.
Well, I mean, that's first crack. Neck pours are always typically a little hotter than what they actually wind up being.
Yeah. That bottle doesn't have much of a neck, but still the same principle.
Yeah, you got to get some air in there.
Mm-hmm. That bottle's more like, the dude you see out at the gym that when you're behind him to turn around, he's got to just like turn his whole body because he doesn't have a neck to turn.
Mm-hmm.
That bottle's kind of like that, and your shoulders just go right into your head.
How you know about that guy, bro? You never been to the gym.
I've been once or twice. I drove past it. Hey, look, I may not frequent or really.
You had to go for work.
Ever go to the gym. Doesn't mean I don't know a couple cats that do,
Yeah. Hey. All right, man. Let's jump into this race. Abu Dhabi. I will just lead it off with far less controversy than last year. That's a win.
Yes. Although, and I'm going to bring this up because I find it very funny on that topic of controversy. I don't remember what Facebook page I was on today. And I saw a post and I was like, let me go scroll through the comments. There should be some entertainment here. And the amount, well, there was one comment I saw in particular, and then the amount of like replies to it that jumped all in on that bandwagon was astounding. And it was a comment along the lines of Abu Dhabi, same controversy, but this time for P2 instead of P1. And it was like, what race did you watch? Because I sure as hell didn't see any controversy there.
So I didn't see that thread or that post or whatever, but I'm going to guess it had to do with Red Bull supporters. I bet it was on a Red Bull page.
I think it was.
And them claiming that Red Bull didn't do enough to help Checo.
Yeah, I mean, of course,
Which,
there was
if you want to have
no,
that argument, that's fine, but it's not controversial
yeah,
when it comes to your opponent or the rules or anything like that. It's
and
I'm going
that,
to tell you, I'm going to clear something up right now, and I've alluded to it a couple times in the closing races of this season, but Max winning 15 races in the season is more important to Red Bull than Checo getting P2. It's just the way it is. Because guess what? 10 years from now, Max is going to be in the record books of most wins in a season by a driver. You know who nobody gives a shit about in a couple years? Who finished second that year?
nobody cares about second place except your wife and your dog.
That's right.
I mean, I
Look, I think it matters in the
I
moment for
disagree
the driver.
a little bit. I do think Red Bull did really want the 1-2 in the drivers.
Not
However,
over.
however, what we have said before, it doesn't matter how much they wanted it. Checo just did not put himself in the position to where they could really play any kind of team game to help him. Like if he wanted that help, he needed to elevate his level a little bit and allow that to happen.
So again, what I alluded to, I think it was the last podcast when I talked about how he is with the tires. He had to hang with Max. In order for him to be helped, he had to hang with Max.
Yep.
He did that and he fucked his tires.
Yep.
And that's what cost him the race. And I guess it's safe to say that Ferrari is making progress towards that problem after their tire performance in this race.
Yeah, they did much, much better. And I think what they also did, I think what Leclerc did as well, was he did a much better job. I shouldn't say he did a much better job, just the situation that he was put out in after each pit stop allowed him to bring the tires in much more conservatively. Because, if you watch, both
We only
of
had
their
one
pit stops, but like, Checo in the beginning of his tire stint, he would be pulling away from Leclerc. But then halfway through, he was severely losing pace, whereas Leclerc didn't kill his tires at the beginning of their stint. And that's when he just started reeling him in.
Well, yeah.
And it happened both times. It
If you look
in the
at the
beginning.
first stint, all of a sudden, man, well, not really all of a sudden, but the gap got out to about 4 or 5 seconds
Mm-hmm.
from Checo to Charles.
Yeah.
And it kind of just stabilized. It just sat there. And then all of a sudden, man, it's like, all right, back in the 4s, low 4s, 3.8. And all of a sudden, I think he bumped like under a second, like in the DRS zone, and then they pitted Checo.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think they pitted Checo right before Charles was about to get to DRS.
Yeah, like I don't think he got any DRS.
Yeah,
but I think he like closed
he was
the window.
Like there.
He was in the window to where he would have.
Yeah, and then man, I tell you what though, and I know Ferrari was what I don't know is at what point did they truly commit to a one stop, or
I
were
don't think it
they
was until
really,
very late. I think they put
or did
themselves
they
in a
really
very
want
good
that?
situation where they had a legitimate option up until 11 laps to go.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, after Checo's first pit stop, he came out, he got stuck in some traffic. Um, at one point, Charles had like a 22-second gap, which is a pit stop gap,
Mm-hmm.
where he could have pitted and possibly came out right ahead, if not right on Checo's gearbox, and essentially been right where he was and had the opportunity to pick up some DRS and overtake him or whatever, just outright, you know, race him and outpace him. Um, you know, yeah, the strategy worked. The one stop did work. Had there been one more lap, probably not so much.
But there wasn't,
I
so it doesn't
no, I
freaking matter that you can't.
no. I know, but I'm getting to a point here. It worked just barely. So good job, Ferrari, on your calculations of where it was going to end up on the last lap. However, in my opinion, I think they should have just matched Checo
Mm-mm.
because on the opening stint, you saw that after X amount of laps, Checo was not at that same pace and Charles was able to reel him in. The Ferrari or Charles was faster than Checo. So if Checo is your main objective this race, why risk letting the pit stop undercut, overcut, what have you? Why risk letting that be the deciding factor? You had the pace, so let Charles just beat Checo. Leave it up to your driver who you are confident in is faster and has more pace. Why take the extra risk of your strategy being vastly different and not working? Let your driver do the work when you know you could. You know, I mean, when they said do the opposite of Checo, honestly, I think it should have been do whatever Checo does. Let them make the first move and then mirror it, and you don't risk anything. You're going to come out right there with them where you left off and let your driver and your car be the one to beat them when you know it could.
Because you don't. I think they played it perfectly because what they did in that first stint, Charles drove a great stint, took care of the tires,
Mm-hmm.
and then was able to apply the pressure. But in doing that, not only did you cause Checo to pit early, because that's what happened. He pitted in the very beginning of the window for the softs. I mean,
Yeah.
for the two stop. Like
Yeah.
it was early, not the softs. Nobody ran softs. But having done that, Charles was able to gain a significant tire advantage in what how many laps later did he pit? Do you have that at your fingertips?
No, but I think it was like,
It was significant.
yeah, it was. Hang on, I'll have it in a second here. Hang on. Pit stop summary.
15 for Checo,
And
21
then Leclerc.
for Leclerc. So 6,
Why did it feel like a lot longer than that?
well, a 6 or 7 lap kind of, I don't know. I mean, yeah, the number's
Yeah. I
6,
mean,
but
it
it's
was a
like
6 lap difference.
you kind of go around almost the whole way. But that's a significant advantage with these tires.
Oh, it absolutely is.
It's a massive advantage. So I think Ferrari played it perfectly because you want to capitalize on that, on being able to build that. And especially because, and look, they may have had different thoughts up front, but when Checo came out and got stuck behind, who was it? He got stuck behind a few people and had to really fight his way through on his outlap and actually the next couple laps. That I think they were spot on to not pit Leclerc, because now you're not even losing time to him on his brand new tires until he clears them. And it took him a little while to kind of get to where he was actually closing Charles down. So, it's a 6-lap advantage on paper, but it was probably closer to 10 because of what Checo had to do when he came out.
Yeah, but
and the way he had to eat up those tires and not gain time on Leclerc.
Yeah, and Charles was still pulling out time at that point. At one point he got 22 seconds.
Right.
But then when he pitted, it was down to like 10 seconds or 12 or something like that. I see what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. I just think if your focus is just to beat Checo, why risk? Because look, yeah, they do know, but at the same time, you don't know. Dude, he could have hit 20 laps, 25 laps on those hards, and then they just like completely died significantly, right? Like just that kind of stuff can happen. So why risk your tires and your main competition that race being on opposite ends of the spectrum? Why risk that? Let your car, let your driver be the one to make it happen, and give him, don't put him in that position. Like I said, it worked and they did a good job. I just think it was unnecessary to add that additional risk, is all I'm saying.
I think you're pulling at straws, man, because I think the one stop was the fastest way to go, but the way they did it, they allowed themselves the option of having it with that, of having the 2-stop if they needed it, if they really felt like they needed it.
Not at a certain point. At a certain point, you run long enough to where
Yeah, obviously,
you can't
like,
pull that.
yeah, of course, but like that's common sense. Like it gets to a point where it's too late to where you can't recoup the time, but they bought themselves the chance, like with that tire offset, with Leclerc being able to go as long as he did, they gave themselves the chance, the option to 1-stop it or 2, in which Perez did not have. So
I mean, like I said, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying my opinion. I think they added unnecessary risk.
you could say that they didn't add necessary risk because they didn't have an extra pit stop, where plenty of things can go wrong.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about that kind of,
you very well could say that, but
when you're talking about that kind of like nip and tuck situation, it's probably more risky to take a pit stop than not.
Like I said, I mean, that's my thoughts.
As close as it was, all it would have taken is somebody coming down the pit lane at the wrong time, and they have to hold him in the box for another 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, and that's it.
Well, yeah, of course. But I mean, all it could have taken was Charles running into lap traffic at the end, and then boom, Checo's on his gearbox on the last lap. I mean, it could have played out 10 million different ways. it
Uh,
worked.
I just think you're grasping for straws, man. I think they did a good job of
I didn't say
monitoring the
they didn't do a
situation.
good job. I never said they didn't do a good job. I'm just putting my input on what I thought about it. That's
You
all.
said that I think they did a good job, but I think they were wrong.
I never said I think they were wrong.
No, but you said it without saying it.
I cannot say they're wrong because it worked. So to say that they were wrong would be 100% incorrect.
Look, I understand what you're saying because it looked like they had the pace, but I think I would imagine that their thought is okay, if Checo doesn't open up his tires like he did that other set, like I think he shredded his front right. I think he destroyed it on that first set, and then again on the second one. But if he doesn't do that and runs maybe a smarter race, because now maybe he's not chasing Leclerc so hard and he doesn't have to push so hard, then you don't have that advantage anymore.
Yeah,
Maybe it
it's
looks
possible.
like, you know what I mean? So I think they played it perfectly, man.
It's one of those things, I mean, we could sit here all night going back and forth with ifs. If was a skiff, we'd go for a boat ride, right?
I hate that saying so much. You always fucking say it. I hate it.
All right, let's move it on down the line here. We got Red Bull, we got Ferrari. Let's talk about the Mercedes and what I believe to be their first reliability problem all year. Aside from Brazil with Russell's what they thought was a coolant leak, which turned out to just be a sensor failing, but it did not inhibit his race. Aside from that, I believe this was their first and only failure of the season. Now, I don't know if you want to look that up to verify that. And if it's not their first, nonetheless, I mean, the point still stands. Kind of where I was going with that was overall, their reliability this year has been incredible. What you got there? Anything?
I'm looking. I was trying to figure out the best way to search that. But I think I got something here. Let's see.
Yeah, that was their first mechanical DNF.
Yeah, I found a clip from about a month ago that they had 100% rate. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, hell, that's a hell of a record.
Yeah.
Shit, what lap did Hamilton flange it up on?
Shit, it was
late.
It was late. Let's see.
55.
Yep. Yeah, 3 laps to go.
Yep.
3 laps shy of a perfect season as far as reliability goes.
With both cars.
Both cars. Yep.
That's crazy.
It is, man. That's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's where they made their fight for the championship.
Yeah.
For second place in the championship.
Yeah, I mean that's what we've been saying all year long,
Right.
Okay, yeah, they may up until this last little bit, yeah, they may be significantly off the pace, but they're solidly in, fifth and sixth as far as pace goes at, most of the season. And they were consistently there. So they were week in and week out picking up those points.
Yeah,
And
that's where they were running.
Somebody in front of them had any kind of issue, which happened quite frequently, they were right there to pick it up. And that's what we've been saying all season. And that is, in fact, what put them in that battle for chance at P2 in the constructors.
And then, don't you know it, towards the end of the year, they're starting to get their shit together, and they're actually quick.
They are,
and can actually fight for it. A lot of those positions,
yeah,
legitimately, without having to have somebody DNF. I mean, you had, I guess, in a bunch of those races coming down the home stretch, you still had maybe not extenuating circumstances, but you still had a lot of just things going kind of awry with the Ferraris and the Red Bulls from time to time that kind of still didn't allow us to really see where they were at. Even with the 1-2 last week, like we talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, were they really faster than everybody in a 1-2 fashion? Still kind of hard to say.
Yep.
Are they significantly faster than they were at the halfway point of the season? Yeah. So, progress made. It's still a work in progress because, as Abu Dhabi showed, they still have some deficiencies. You were back down to sea level where drag is present again. And that showed to be still an issue.
Yeah.
Brazil is about the same height, about the same elevation as Austria. So I mean, yeah, it's not Mexico, but you're still kind of up there.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's still serious limitations to that aero package. And I think, some of these tracks that we're going to open up with next year, had they brought this same car, or not even next year, tracks at the beginning of the calendar, where if you brought this same car that they have now, this version of it, at the beginning, it's entirely possible that they'd still be in exactly the same place as they were at that point. Maybe it just looks better. Maybe it doesn't look as bad off. Because, I mean, they still have significant issues with drag on that car.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's been outside forces acting on the performance of that car here recently. But again, not to diminish, they have made substantial progress with it. And without a doubt, they will continue that progress, and they will be a threat next year.
Oh, 100%.
They will be right back up in the mix.
100%. They will.
And next year is going to get very interesting with that. But more of that to come later.
Yeah. We got plenty of podcasts in the off season that talk about that.
Yeah. So P3 in the constructors it is, and given how they started off this year, that really is a solid finish. So
Yeah, well, P3 having a chance at P2 is a solid finish because
yes.
the way they started off the year, they
kind of already
head and
had
shoulders
P3
above everybody else.
Yeah.
They were just kind of in this no man's land.
Yep. So, all right, let's move it on down the line here to the papaya colored McLaren, who ended up they were not able to capitalize and overtake Alpine. They landed P5 in the constructors, with Danny Rick pulling some points on his last F1 race with McLaren. Maybe last one at all. Who knows? But for now, just the last one with McLaren, we'll say. Ricardo being one of 4 drivers this weekend who, for the moment, was their last F1 race. I'd say 2 of them stand a chance to be on the starting grid again. 2 of those 4, not so much. Vettel, obviously, retiring after a very successful career. Danny Rick, Mick Schumacher leaving Haas, does not currently have a seat for next year, but he's got the possibility of having a seat at some point, maybe.
Supposedly, he's going to wind up as Mercedes reserve driver.
It'd be interesting.
That's been a talk around the town. And all of a sudden, Toto is very complimentary of him, and vice versa.
Right. Yeah.
It's a little too much public flirtation going on there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So Mick, and then Latifi last race with
he
Williams.
ain't coming back.
He's not coming back. So hence the reason for saying 2 of them have the possibility of returning, which rumor has it's been verbally confirmed, not as far as I know, not confirmed with the signing of any documents. But Danny Rick looks to be the Red Bull reserve driver for next year. So
I think that's awesome.
Returning home.
Because I also think, as we alluded to last week, that we'll take a huge dive in this offseason. That Checo is going to be, if he doesn't do something, he's going to be a liability for that team next year.
Yes.
If he doesn't do something with his ability to adapt to a car.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, everybody can say what they want about, oh, he had a great season. Bro, he was driving a car, and I don't want to hear the crap that, oh, it's not the same car as Max. I don't buy that. He has every opportunity that Max does to be successful in that car. And Max won more races than anybody ever in a season in that car.
Yep.
And he had,
Yeah, I mean, just because Checo can't drive the car the way Max does, or can't the way the car needs to be set up to be as fast as Max drives it, Checo can't drive it like that. It doesn't fit his driving style. Well, that's not Red Bull's fault. That's not they give him a different car. That's just Checo is not as good as Max. Like that. That's all that is. Two very different levels. But man,
yeah, I mean,
on the topic before we get too far off of this, on the topic of the 4 drivers that are leaving or have now left, I came across today that your boy old Mazepin has put out some words of wisdom to what these 4 drivers can expect upon their departure of F1. And he listed they will go through 5 stages of grieving. And it's like, bro, well, for one, Seb retired. He didn't just lose his seat. Like all this stuff you're saying means nothing to him because he chose to leave to go, to be able to spend more time with family and just pursue other things. And then you spent one season in F1 and you are going to impart words of wisdom to these guys. Like, man, I found it to be a bit comical
yeah.
to see that coming from him. Now, look, like, was it a PR stunt that his, somebody within Daddy's organization told him he should do? Maybe. Was it genuine? Maybe. If it was, like, all right, look, man, I'll give it to you for trying to be, helpful, insightful, supportive, whatever you want to call it. If it was in fact something genuine, I'll give you that credit. But I think he could have chose a way better way to go about it than coming from a high horse to be able to impart some words of wisdom to these guys.
Mm-hmm. Nah, I don't want to talk about that son of a bitch anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it I think Mick has a path back. I feel like Haas, I don't know, man. Like I feel like they kind of soured over the last 2 years in terms of the way they're regarded in the paddock.
I think that's accurate.
And I don't know if it's true or not. I just kind of get that feeling like that they're going to be that team where it's like, oh, Mick hadn't done great, but somebody can always be like, yeah, but it was with Haas. And then whoever made the original statement is like, yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
He gets a pass on that. Like, we don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Gunther kind of seemed out of sorts a little bit. And look, man, I mean, I've heard quite a bit that he wasn't the easiest to deal with, not because of him personally, but just because of everything around him and everybody around him.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think probably a bigger team is more suited to handle that kind of situation than somebody like Gunther
Mm-hmm.
and a Gene Haas. So that could have been a serious problem, man. I mean, that could have been a fracture that just wouldn't heal.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, I understand why it is the way it is with Mick, but that could have been one of those things that was just kind of doomed from the beginning. You just didn't realize it until you're way down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? So, all right. Well, circle back to where we started down this rabbit hole in particular. Back to McLaren. So solid points. Well, I mean, solid A points finish for Danny Rick in his last McLaren drive. Good finish for Lando as well. In what was he, P6?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So was it six? They had said it during the race. Was it P6 that Lando has finished in quite a bit? That he had talked about changing his number from 4 to 6
I think he was
because
talking
of
about
that.
changing it to 7.
Was it 6 or was it 7?
It was 7 because whenever they said that, I really wasn't paying attention to the reason before it. But I remember being like, "You can't take 7. That's Kimi's number."
I think it was 7.
Obviously, I know Kimi's not coming back, and somebody will take 7. But
Right.
Lando's 4. I like him at 4. Don't change nothing. Plus, it's part of his logo. He can't change it.
Yeah. Right. No, I don't think there was a whole lot of merit to it. I think it was just kind of a
Yeah, I'm sure it was a joke or something said kind of tongue in cheek.
yeah.
But look, McLaren, dude, I mean, I guess that was about as good as they could have hoped for, given the way this year has gone.
Mm-hmm.
A P6 for Lando and a P9 for Danny Rick. That's about it right there.
Yep.
I mean, I am kind of surprised that in the course of this terrible season for Danny Rick, he didn't have like that moment to just like really make Lando probably pissed off. Like last year, he gets the win, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of waiting for like that's random weekend where he winds up P2 or even gets like another win because some crazy shit happened and something weird happened and Lando couldn't capitalize on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he was just too at odds with this car
Yeah.
to ever even be in a position like that. I mean, unfortunately, it just did not work with McLaren. And it really sucks because I thought beforehand,
Thought that was going to be
I thought it was
great
going to be a
move,
match made in heaven, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although, I'll say this. I thought that because he was leaving Renault, I genuinely hated the decision to leave Red Bull. I hated it. I felt like Red Bull was on a great trajectory. They were he was good in the car. They if he would have stayed there, they would not have been as Max centric. Obviously, I think some of the some of it was kind of going towards Max, but I think that's only natural because of how much younger he was than Danny.
Yeah, well, and that played a
You
role
have
in
to
him
set
wanting
yourself
to
up.
leave.
Right. But what I'm saying
he didn't
is,
want to play second fiddle.
He was fast enough to where I don't think he would have been forced to play second fiddle until math said that he had to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, really, dude, I don't get the impression from Red Bull that if they have two drivers, we've seen it this year. If they have two drivers in a position to succeed, they're going to let them handle it. I mean, look, there was plenty of instances early in the year when they could have easily had things go differently for Checo if they decided.
Mm-hmm.
I just hated it, man. I felt like it was kind of a coward move. That's what it looked like. That's what it felt like from the outside. I get the fact that kind of Red Bull's all you knew, and you wanted to kind of spread your wings a little bit, and no pun intended, and kind of see if the pasture is greener. But man, he was in a good situation, and
he was,
and
he
even
was, and
still, man, like, look, if nothing else, even if you knew, maybe deep down inside, he just knew that he wasn't going to beat Max in the same car. But either way, like, man, you'd have been in a great position. I mean, think about how last year would have gone if Danny Rick is in that other Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
A car that he was very comfortable in, and his driving style was built in.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, look, we all know hindsight's 2020, right? The way the writing on the wall looked, I can surely understand, why he would have probably felt like he was going to get pushed aside so that Max could be up top. And maybe there was discussions in the team that alluded to that a little more strongly than just what we see or think, or maybe there wasn't. We don't know, but he, for whatever reason, that's the inclination he had, and felt it was time to do it. Yeah, looking back on it now, it's like, man, if you'd have stayed, look at the position you could be in. But it is what it is. I'm happy to see him getting back with them, and I do think it could open up a door in a year.
We've seen Red Bull is not scared to pull the eject button in the middle of a season.
Yep. And I mean, dude, hell, look, they could put him in test sessions and whatnot, and it might be like riding a freaking bike. You put him back in a car that caters to more to his driving style, and he may be setting the world on fire again. So who knows? Like you said, yeah, we've seen Red Bull's not. If Red Bull feels like pulling the plug now, cut bait and switch directions is going to benefit them, they're not afraid to do it.
Man, I'm curious if there was talks with him after, like at the time when he was leaving Renault to what, like when he was talking with McLaren to make that move. Because that would have been the same year where
Yeah.
they wound up signing Checo all the way at the end.
Man, I would have to think there probably was. Because, I mean,
Like, bro, like we understand what you had to do
Christian,
before, but come on back.
yeah, Christian and Danny Rick always seemed to still have a good relationship
Yeah.
within the paddock, as far as we saw, right? As far as TV shows.
Well, even in the
But
way that
from
Christian spoke about him.
right, right, from everything we know, they still had a good relationship. So I'd have to believe that there was at least a conversation at that time.
And who knows? Maybe Danny was like, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe so.
You know, because I think at that point, it probably would have been coming back to play second fiddle.
Yeah. Yeah, but who knows? It's could wind up really good for him, or I don't know. Who knows? We'll see in time. So let's keep this train rolling. Let's get on down to Alpine and another reliability problem for old Fernando.
A good riddance for Fernando.
Dude, he wasted no time getting back, getting his shit, and he went and brought all of it and moved into the Aston Martin Hospitality Center.
Did he?
Yeah.
I missed that. I didn't
Yeah.
even see that.
I saw it earlier today. I don't think there was anything on the broadcast about it,
Oh,
but I saw it today, and yeah, he wasted no time, dude. None.
that is hilarious.
Yeah. There's some pictures of him in his Alpine shirt still, and carrying bags, walking into the Aston Martin Hospitality Center. Yeah, he was ready for that one, and there was some comments made, I think, before the race and again after, about just how ready he was for that change.
Yeah, dude, that's. I don't know how. It almost seems like it got to the point where it's surprising he made it through the season.
Yeah. Yeah, like he was, dude, it seemed like he was ready just to pull the plug.
Like you almost expected to see him driving FP1 sessions for Aston.
Right? Yeah.
Ocon, just again, kind of another nothing special. He just look, I mean, he's cleaned up. He had a great season. He cleaned up a lot of the boneheaded things that used to take him out of races and converted them to things that just really piss off his teammate.
Mm-hmm.
But he is the guy that's going to get what that car has out of it, and no more, no less.
Yep.
And that's it. And I think luckily a lot of the time this year, the pace of that car was such that he was handily clear of a lot of the true midfield shenanigans, to where he really wasn't, aside from Fernando and maybe a McLaren from time to time, like you really didn't have a whole lot of wheel banging and running around a whole pile of cars.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean he's a solid baseline for the car.
Yeah.
But
like, I mean, Fernando showed you this year that car at times was capable of living at the front. Unfortunately, reliability had other plans for every time they were in a
Every
situation
time it
to do
looked good.
so.
Yep.
But, you know, I mean, that just shows you, like, Fernando is still capable of just extracting endless amounts of performance out of a car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about the speed that dude had in Canada.
Yeah.
Qualified P2.
Yep. Dude, there was a handful
Australia,
of times
he was
where
looking great.
he had that car where nobody expected to see it.
Yeah, I mean, Australia, he looked like he was going to be. I don't think he was actually going to threaten for pole, but he was threatening for front row top 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then hydraulic problem, you can't downshift, and you can't make a corner if you can't downshift.
Yep.
So just like crazy things like that, man. It just, and it was always his car.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, when you're extracting more out of the car than what it's really truly capable of, you're going to be the one to see those kind of problems.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can get all that stuff resolved for when Pierre jumps in it.
Yeah, but you know what? Either way, it's going to be Pierre's not going to have the same outlook as Fernando because of the train wreck that he came from this year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, like, either way, just the pace of that car alone is going to put a smile on Pierre's face.
Yep.
But
it'll be like a breath of fresh air for him.
I do think Pierre is going to do very well in that car. And I think
unless Esteban has something to say about that.
I think that's going to be the motivation for him as well. To really just show what he's about now.
Mm-hmm.
And to show where he's come since the whole Red Bull demotion and all that stuff.
Yeah. And
I think he's going to do well. And I'll tell you this, Esteban casts no shadow compared to Max.
Yeah.
So whatever pressure is there, Pierre can handle it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or knows
and I mean,
what to expect.
Man, I think it's going to be good for Pierre. Because as long as he is under that Red Bull umbrella, he kind of just lives with being the guy that got the boot from, and got kicked back down to the junior rank,
Mm-hmm.
Although when that happened, you saw the transformation and we saw last year what he did and how good he did with that car. And you saw the growth and the improvement, but nonetheless, he still kind of lives with that title of the guy that got booted. He got called up and then he got booted right back down.
Mm-hmm.
I think getting out from the Red Bull umbrella will be very good for him.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to do him well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So, on to Aston Martin, and Fernando's out of one, and we move right into where he's heading. So Aston got a double points finish. Stroll in P8 and Vettel in his final Grand Prix, picking up the last point in 10th. I know we said it a little bit ago, but absolutely incredible career Seb has had. I feel like it's one of those things I feel like it was time, but it still sucks to see him go,
Man, I'm torn on it because I don't like watching the Seb that I see now. And don't take this the wrong way. Like I'm
I
happy.
know I know where you're going with it,
I'm
and yeah,
happy that Seb like has found other things that interest him and has grown as a person and has become like a great ambassador of the sport and of so many things.
yeah. No,
But
you're
I,
relating this just to like as
I
the driver, nothing
as the
else.
driver,
Yeah.
I view Seb as that dude that just has ice in his veins and sees the top step of the podium as the only option.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the multi 21,
Yep.
the just the absolute killer. You know, staring down. One of my favorite things is whenever Mark Webber and him are in that cool down room and Mark's sitting there being like, multi 21, Seb, multi 21. And Seb isn't saying anything, just not blinking, staring straight through him, chugging his water. You know, like just that the intensity of the
Mm-hmm.
look in that face told you everything you needed to know about Seb, that he was just ruthless.
Yep.
And I don't know when it happened, but that disappeared from Seb. And it's kind of one of those things, man, that like in the fight game, you know, they always say whenever you start having those thoughts of, man, can I do this anymore? It's already past the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
you need to quit because somebody that you're going to fight doesn't have those thoughts is going to wreck you. And if that's the case, that means you're not really committed in the extent that you were.
Yep.
And you're not hungry and you don't have that extra drive that it takes to perform at the level that's required to really succeed where they're at.
Yeah.
And I hate it. I hated not seeing that in Seb because that was kind of his thing, right? Like you saw it on the track and you saw it outside of the car as well when the helmet was off. And, you know, like I said, I get people mature and he was young when he had all that success, but man, I think that attitude is why he had a lot of that success. I mean, it was just, I will not compromise when it comes to what I want. And I'll do whatever it takes to get it.
Yeah. He definitely had that, and
Yep.
without a doubt, that definitely diminished over the years. No doubt.
So, I mean, I think it was time. I think it was, like I said before, I think it was probably time when Ferrari came to an end, but I just don't think he wanted to go out that way. And good for him because I don't think we really don't know how that all went down, but I would imagine that there'd have been a way to make just like a nice clean exit and farewell tour from Ferrari, but apparently that didn't happen, or he wasn't pleased with the way it happened and decided, well, I'm not gonna retire from y'all.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it
Yeah.
could have been as simple as that he just didn't want to leave. He didn't want his last season to be not at his not his decision.
Yeah, absolutely. He wanted to go out on his terms, not theirs. Yep.
But did you listen to him on Beyond the Grid recently? Last week he had a new one.
I did not. No, I did not catch that
You need
one
to go
yet.
check it out, and it's pretty interesting. He said the thoughts really started to creep in his head in 19 when Charles came in.
Mm-hmm.
When all of a sudden he kind of realized and saw like himself 10 years ago in Charles. Just that relentless drive that, and it's very true. I think Charles is a little more polished in terms of the whole PR thing
Mm-hmm.
and the way that he handles the media in the heat of the moment. But I mean, make no mistake, Charles is what Vettel was. And I think that's a pretty awesome thing for Vettel. I mean, I think it's a hell of a compliment for Vettel to pay Charles.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I mean, he's has not been shy about complimenting Charles and what he thinks of him. But I think that's a pretty brave thing to say about himself. Like he didn't have to tell anybody that.
Right.
But it's just one of those things, man. I guess when even if the thoughts creep in, it just takes time for it to set in
Mm-hmm.
of what
Or I
that
mean,
thought actually is.
yeah, it's there. It just takes a little bit to decipher it, and
And
yeah.
Unfortunately, his performance was such where I don't think Ferrari had a choice, man. Like I really don't. I think they were in a position where they had to make a move. They had to make a change because I mean Seb's 2020 year, man. That can't happen at Ferrari.
No. No, they truthfully did not have a whole lot of choice. I mean, it just it wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there is to it. And I mean, look, dude, it's Formula One.
It's ruthless, man.
Yeah, ain't no room for feelings. That shit'll get you killed.
Right?
Yeah. So all the best to Seb.
Hell yeah, man.
We'll I'm sure we'll be seeing him. I'm sure he'll occasionally be around in the paddock.
Little teaser.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna do I've been thinking about during the off season, maybe doing a podcast talking about kind of reliving some of his greatest moments.
Oh yeah.
I hadn't brought that up to you yet, but
No, I like it.
because
I like it.
he's got some awesome ones.
Indeed. Yeah, I think that'd be good. We'll keep y'all posted on that.
So
all right, who's up
Lance
next?
Stroll, man, we got to
Okay.
touch on Stroll a little bit.
Yeah.
He didn't have a terrible season, man. I think it's when you're looking at a car like this one, like this Aston Martin, I think it's very difficult to gauge a driver because the car itself was so up and down. I mean, it was, and there was no rhyme or reason for it, really. It's not like,
Yeah, there was no like defining characteristics of a
right,
track
man.
that it favored or yeah.
I think he had a decent year. I think he had, I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see. I kind of put him in the same category as Ocon. Although I think Lance has the potential to be quicker.
Yeah, head to head in equal cars, I think Lance would
I think
outpace Ocon,
I think
assuming that he doesn't dart across the track to block him and either send him airborne or off track.
well look, man, I feel like Ocon's floor and ceiling are much closer together than Stroll's. I think Stroll's floor is significantly lower than Ocon's, but I also think the ceiling's higher. You know, on a given weekend, I think Lance has the potential to do some awesome things. And dude, we've seen him in the rain be exceptional,
Mm-hmm.
especially in qualifying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just in
And
general, though,
that
yeah, his
that alone, I think, shows a lot about a driver. The ability to put a lap together on the freaking limit in the rain is it takes a different quality, man. And there's not a lot of them that can do it.
oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason it's called the Great Equalizer. I
Yeah.
mean, it's absolutely true, and I do agree with you. With your comparison of his floor and ceiling versus Ocon, um, but yeah, with that comes, which again, like stated, yeah, the car played a big role in that, but his results, he was so much more volatile, you know,
Mhm.
whereas Ocon was just kind of much more steady across the board. Um, but I do agree. I completely agree that he has the potential to be better. He's shown that he can be. He's just got to be able to live there consistently.
Mhm.
I think that's his biggest crutch is consistency. And maybe it's not him. Maybe it all does come back to the inconsistency of the performance of this car, you know?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they dial some of those things in a little bit next year. And, you know, m- I mean, I don't think it'll take a lot of progress to really skate themselves up the order to where they're competing, with McLaren and Alpine
Mhm.
week in and week out.
Yeah.
But imagine by now they have an idea of their issues. So, you know, they'll have a significant amount more wind tunnel time than the people, than the McLaren and the Alpine. So
Yep.
let's see if they can put it to good use. We
Yeah.
know if one thing's for sure, they have the resources
Yep.
and there's no shortage of investment.
Yeah. They missed out on a cool 12 mil, but I don't really think that's going to hurt them very much.
It always helps.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy
But
that they tied.
Mm-hmm.
Alfa Romeo on points.
Yep.
What is the tiebreaker in that situation? Is who has the higher finish?
Mm. Let's see.
I'm gonna take a little Buffalo Trace flight here.
So it goes to, it's really comes down to the finishing order. I think this, hang on, I think this applies to constructors as well. Just like the drivers' championship, who has the most wins? If that's equal or zero, who has the most seconds? Who has the most thirds? So on and so forth down the line. I think yeah, it looks like that's what it is. Same thing for drivers or constructors.
Cool.
Yep. What batch you got there?
Oh shit, I forget. I think this is 14. 130.2. I think it's batch 14. Little Stag Junior here. Figured I'd keep it in the family.
Yeah, that's 14.
Yeah. Currently I have 13 and 14. Unfortunately, my batch number 12 is no longer with us.
You're the only one to blame for that.
This is true because I don't even know if I shared that one with anybody. But I think in general, Stag Junior might be one of my favorite bourbons, period. It's just, to me, it's just everything bourbon should be.
Oh yeah. It is incredible.
So
I'd,
I can't
I'd be
imagine. I
I'd be
can't
hard
imagine,
pressed to list one that I do honestly like better.
bro. Like I really can't imagine how good. I've never had George T. Stag. I can't imagine how good it is. If it's better, like to me, Stag Junior is where it's at, and I just can't. I can't picture how much better George T. Stag is, but
I'd love the opportunity to find out.
I know it. It's got to be
One day.
That's like my number one unicorn want bottle. All the other B tags are cool, and I would love to have them. But
George T is where it's at.
oh, George T. Stag, man, is just like if I could get my hands on that, I would cherish it forever.
Yeah, one of these days. One day.
But I would definitely open that bitch.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know why. Like, we drink our bourbon over here. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
I might save it for a little while and wait for a special occasion to open it.
But it's gonna get open.
But it's gonna get open, and then once it's open, we're gonna get in that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Shit, there's not a pretty certain there's not a single unopened bottle behind me.
Yeah, you took care of that in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Shit, why not? Let's
Right.
open it. See what it's all about. To hell with that leaving the cork in it, sealed up crap.
Bourbon's made to be drank, bro. There's one thing for sure. There'll always be more bourbon.
That is 100% correct. There will always be more.
Buffalo Trace is building warehouse upon warehouse to ensure that that's the case.
Yeah. Now, you may never be able to get your hands on it.
I think damn near every distillery that you have heard of is probably in growth mode right now.
Oh, yeah. After these last couple of years, absolutely. I mean, hell, all these new rick houses that Buffalo Trace is building, you know, that's just so that there can be more E.H. Taylor, you know, new warehouse door has a slight draft bottle that you'll never see, you know.
I'm sure they'll put a lightning rod on a building.
Yeah, lightning strike bottle.
The lightning strike batch.
Yep. Man, it's funny reading through like when that topic comes up, some of the shit that people come up with, like to just, you know, play jokes on what their next limited release batch like that's going to be. There's some funny stuff.
Well, that's like, I think last year, whenever is it what river is that? Is that the Kentucky River? Or
I believe so, yeah.
Whatever river it is that distillery is built on, whenever it flooded, and like a good bit of their spot over there was underwater.
Yep.
They had like an aerial picture of Buffalo Trace with a bunch of it underwater, and the caption was like, "Anybody want to guess what the next E.H. Taylor special release is going to be named?"
Proof might be a little bit lower.
Yeah.
E.H. Taylor low proof.
Flood survivors.
Yeah.
Floating barrels. Floating barrel batch.
There you go.
So where are we at here? AlphaTauri. Horrible year. Gasly is probably feeling the same as Alonso. Yeah. I know we already talked about him a good bit. I think it's not necessarily a good riddance, because I think he holds Red Bull in good regard. I just think it ran its course. And them not having a great season this year just kind of soured it a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that the single barrel?
Yep.
Nice.
I gotta join you with a pour. I'm always up for finding a reason to go into this one.
Right.
And back in the tube.
Tell you what, on another bourbon note, I'm getting super excited for the holiday season that is upon us.
It's bourbon season.
Well, not only that, but fixing to start drinking some Midwinter Night's Dram. Which
why don't you hook me up with a bottle of that?
No. Dude, like that, I drank it the week of Christmas. If it's cold, and it could be cliche, I don't know, but I love doing it. I'll make a fire and just sit on the couch and have me a little pour of Midwinter Night's Dram, and it's like my favorite thing.
Look, man, it's freaking cold up here right now. I could really use some.
Well, you're going to have to find another bottle to have that experience with. Because I'll show you why.
Probably because that bottle does not have a lot left, if I had to guess. Yeah. I'll wait for you to put your headphones back on. As suspected, there was not much left in that one to go around.
So, if I am not able to acquire another bottle this year or before Christmas, this will be 100% a bottle kill this year. And this is Act 8, Scene 6.
Why don't you just go ahead and bottle kill it right now, man? Do it for the show.
I'm not, but I am gonna
tip it up. Cannonball it. Cannonball.
Oh, I love it so much. It's so good when it hits your lips.
Yeah, I bet it is.
It's dude, it's.
I have tried it.
I'm just like, yeah, I'll let you try some of it.
Yeah, I've had some.
See what I mean? I'm not stingy with my bourbon. I just won't probably. This is like one of the bottles that. This is the only bottle I've ever owned. And I don't know. I got this one, Act 8, 2 years ago. So this will be my third Christmas with this bottle. And it's not going to make it.
That's all she wrote.
It's just not going to make it, bro.
Yep.
So I got to get my hands on it. I got to. I don't know. I'd hate to have to go to secondary, but I might do it for that one if I have to.
Wonder what that one goes for on secondary.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But if that bottle goes empty.
Without a replacement.
Yeah.
Get to talking to some people.
It's the greatest thing ever for me for like a Christmas bourbon or Christmas whiskey. It's just awesome. Oh, that's the best thing about the holiday season.
Best thing is
time to drink
Midwinter Night's Dram.
It's time to drink Midwinter Night's Dram by a fire. Yes. Not seeing the elation in your kids on Christmas morning or anything like that.
Nope. Midwinter Night's Dram by the fire.
Night's Dram.
All right. So, yeah, AlphaTauri. Lackluster year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Where did Yuki finish? Yuki finished P11. Man, I think Yuki is kind of another one of those that's like, I don't recall that we've seen any like exemplary performances out of him. Correct me if I'm wrong there with your memory of each turn of every race, but I think he's another one where he's a good baseline for the car.
I don't even know if he's that.
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, you know. I mean,
yeah,
the car sucked, so.
Right. You know, last year I think there was a lot of just kind of culture shock issues that they had to get over. Just kind of everything that came with that. There's a language barrier. There was a culture barrier. There was a work ethic that had to be established. There was just a lot of things that they really had to dial in.
A lot of bureaucratic time spent.
Well,
I don't know if bureaucratic's the right word I'm looking for here.
It's really not. It's just like it's one of those things that once you get to that level, you don't know that you might not know that you need to do all these things until you're there. And once you start implementing them, it's not overnight results.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I still think we have a lot to see from Yuki. Because I think he has shown flashes of great speed in that car. Last year and this year. But, I mean, obviously it wasn't – this year it wasn't at the pointy end of the time charts. But I still think relative to what the car was capable of, he's shown, a lot of speed.
Mm-hmm.
And he can be very quick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that essentially that's the base that you want in an F1 driver. A lot of Yuki's issues, if you're sitting there as AlphaTauri, like, you're like, I can fix this shit. It might take a couple years, but I can fix that.
Mm-hmm. The talent's there.
Right.
And that's the more important part.
Yeah, I mean, once you get to F1, dude, like, you're either fast or you're not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always, like, little things that you can kind of mold and shape and dial out a little bit more time here and there. But, man, like, you kind of... Can you think of anybody that, aside from going from stepping up from like a midfield team to a race winning kind of car situation, where staying in the same car, like, they just unlocked something in themselves and had like this revelation of speed for like year over year, where like all of a sudden they were just fast? Nothing really jumps out at me.
No. No, not really. I mean, it's kind of one of those things, yeah, either you're fast, but you're in a shit car, and then you get your chance in a fast car,
Right.
or you're just not, and you kind of live there for a while till you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, all right, let's Alfa Romeo, they've had a terrible back half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
They have, I don't want to say regressed, but definitely they have not moved and developed forward in the way that that everybody else has, really.
Yeah.
I think they are probably the team that has stayed still the most in terms of, or even lost the most time in terms of like their gap to the front, their gap to the leader. I would be willing to bet they've lost more time than anybody in their bid to be at the front.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Haas came out beginning of this year a lot stronger than what they finished out. Kind of just like Alfa Romeo. And both of them periodically, obviously, K-Mag with his pole and all, they both periodically would have a flash where they were back up, mid points or something, and then,
yeah, but K-Mag's pole was a circumstantial pole.
Oh, it absolutely was. 100%.
And Alfa Romeo's pace at the beginning of the season was freaking real.
Yeah, I mean, Haas had some significant pace comparatively to where they generally lived.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying like Alfa Romeo was legitimately like the sixth fastest car on the track to open the season.
Yeah.
Not the sixth fastest team. Like, they finished P6 on merit. Like, a couple of times, I think, right?
Yeah, a couple of them earlier on.
Now, obviously, you had a double DNF from the Red Bulls in Bahrain. Then you had, let's see.
Yeah, I mean we can dive into all that in our in-depth recap of how they did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean in general, yes,
You got a 6.
they kind
an
of just
8.
stood still throughout the year.
Bro, out of the first 4 races of the season, Valtteri DNF'd in Saudi Arabia. The other ones he finished P6 in Bahrain, P8 in Australia, and P5 in Imola. And then P7 in Miami. And then P6, Jesus Christ. And then P6 in Spain. And then P9 in Monaco. Good Lord. I didn't even realize how good of a run that was. And then outside the points, P11 in Baku. But, bro, I mean, what a freaking run for the way they looked last year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And then it just started going downhill.
Yeah, it just fell off at that point.
As everybody else started developing and started introducing upgrades, they stayed still.
Yep.
And Williams was high garbage.
Hot.
Oh, but before we get into that, how about, I mean, my vote's for Joe for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, hands down, Joe for Rookie of the Year.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, is there even an argument against it?
No, there's not, because there is nobody else.
Right.
I mean, and look, we say that jokingly, but he did have a very good rookie year.
Absolutely. He showed,
not to diminish, all jokes aside of him being the only rookie, not to diminish that he did legitimately have a solid rookie year.
mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what I think his potential is. But I mean, he's definitely got much more potential than what we saw this year. I do think we'll continue to see him get better. I just don't know what I think his ceiling is.
Mm-hmm.
But we will continue to see him grow and improve.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think he's going to do well and have a pretty lengthy career in F1. He just seems, obviously he's quick, but he seems like he has a maturity about him beyond his years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's the kind of thing that takes you a long way in F1.
Mm-hmm.
Because it develops a lot of trust.
Yep.
So good on him. I think he had a phenomenal rookie year.
From a team's point of view, you're a safe bet. When they don't have
their hands.
they don't have to take a risk on, you being a bonehead or, just acting like an idiot. They only have to take the risk on, are you going to perform where they think you will? It's the question is not in any other form, So it definitely makes you more valuable, I think, when you're trying to elevate your career up through the ranks.
Mm-hmm. So he actually, I had forgot about this. He has the fastest lap on the year.
Where at?
Suzuka.
Ah. Okay.
But yeah, and Williams was a dumpster fire. It was, they have kind of lost all the positive momentum that they had built through last year is just gone with a vengeance, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I mean, dude, you were almost 20 points shy of ninth place.
Yeah.
And 20 points on when you're fighting for ninth and 10th is an eternity.
Yep.
That's a huge gap.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a similar gap to what Max had to the rest of the field.
Mm-hmm. No,
I
dude,
mean, it's
they were more than 20 points.
not to ninth.
Yeah. They were
Are they?
27 points.
What are they?
AlphaTauri 35, Williams 8.
Yeah. Damn.
Yep. So I mean, dude, yeah, that dumpster is a burning,
Yeah.
and we're talking like 40-yard job site dumpster.
Right.
But
Shit, man. I mean, I don't know now that they're owned by this other company.
Dorito Capital.
It's not Dorito Capital.
I know. I don't remember exactly what it is. So Doriton, something like that.
Dorian. Damn it. It says it on the side of the car.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know what. I don't know if how long they'll commit the money to that kind of a project
Mm-hmm.
to come in last by a lot.
Right.
Dorland Capital?
Dorilton.
No.
That's what it is. Dorilton.
No, that's not right.
Yeah, Dorilton. I'm looking at it right here.
Oh, ton. It sounded like you had a P in there.
Oh, no, Dorilton.
Doralton. Yeah. Yeah, man, I can't see. You just don't know. Like when it was the Williams family, you knew they would do it as long as they could, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like how long do they keep financing this? Because it looked like they had it kind of getting turned around, and they were, reinvesting in it and putting money in it, and you had the new regs coming and you had this influx of cash, and it was like, all right, man, like they're gonna make some progress, and then it just face planted.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, as a company that now owns it, yeah, from a business point of view, you're only going to do it for so long. Now, yeah, I mean, nobody gets into racing to come in last. But is being the owner, title sponsor, is being in F1 bringing enough to the company to where it is worth it, even in last, So, yeah, I mean, obviously they don't want to come in last. You finish, the better you finish, the more attention it's going to bring to you. But nonetheless, is this offsetting, is the increased revenue from being in F1 in general and getting their name to a larger audience, whatever, is it benefiting them enough to keep financing this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the board meetings.
Yeah,
I'd like to be.
I'll give Yost a call and see if I can get in on one of those.
Yeah, that I would do that.
I'll get right on it. I'll give him a call first thing in the morning.
Good.
Let you know how that goes.
If you don't get an answer, don't take it the wrong way. It's probably just a time difference.
Yeah, I'm
just
sure.
Be ready to answer your phone late at night.
Yeah. I'll leave him a voicemail, and I know he'll get back to me.
So we'll see. Latifi's out. That'll do some good in the terms of the championship.
Yeah.
I'm sure even a rookie next year will at least be able to do at minimum whatever Latifi did.
Mm-hmm. Which was 2 points. 2 points. Which is the same as what Nick DeVries did with only one race this year.
Yeah, and he just snagged those, though, didn't he?
In the same car.
I mean, he just snagged those points. Recently.
When did he?
Because DeVries scored before he did.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's enough on Williams. Let's move to Haas. And I know we kind of already touched on them a little bit just via the Mick conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But look, man, it'll be interesting to see what happens next year with them having, I guess, like we alluded to earlier, maybe two safe pair of hands.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like with those two, maybe there's kind of a lower ceiling. Than what could possibly be unknown potential or untapped potential.
Yeah.
Out of a younger driver.
Yeah, I mean, I think
let's be honest about Hulkenberg, right?
That's fair.
Everybody loves him since he left, but before he left, nobody liked him.
Nobody really loved him then.
He was a guy who's had multiple opportunities to score a podium in solid cars and has never come through and did it. He had an opportunity in 2019 2019, I think, at the Hungaroring. Was it? No, it was the German. What was the Germany one where the Mercedes had the white cars? He had a chance to possibly go for the win. And at worst, he would have finished second. Like Max Verstappen was leading and spun, and it kind of brought him into sight of Nico. And Nico started pushing a little more and wound up spinning it and lost. It was the wet race. He wound up crashing. And it's like that's a perfect example of his entire career.
Yeah, that might have been the Hockenheim ring.
Yeah.
Because he DNF'd that one.
That's where it was. It was Hockenheim. Because Toto and all had the suspenders on and the top hat, and they had the white
the
white
Lederhosen
livery. The livery was sick on those Mercedes.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, I mean that's a perfect example. Like that just sums up everything about Hulkenberg right there. Like you've never had a podium before. You've been in F1 for 10 freaking years. I think it was about 8 or 9. But either way, and you've been in pretty good cars. Like you've not been in crap cars, and you just couldn't deliver.
Mm-hmm.
So, Haas, if that's what you want, I mean, I guess like, all right. But man, I don't see the purpose unless it's like, okay, we think him in the car could have had, I don't know, X amount more points than what Mick did. And that alone is worth maybe an extra, I don't know, however many places, maybe 2 places and $20 million to us, and we'll take it.
Right. Just to backtrack a little bit for reference. Here you go.
Oh, dude, those are so freaking sick.
There's that Mercedes livery.
That was so sick.
Yeah. Dude, and we've said this before. I know we said it when we were at COTA. Mercedes, like, graphic design team, they've got it, bar none.
Dude, they just kill it.
Yeah.
Like, all of their, all of their merchandise, everything is just on point, dude. It's sick.
Yep.
All their hats. Like, they have the best selection of hats, period, bar none, end of discussion.
Yep.
Their shirts are awesome. Ferrari, on the other hand, has shit hats.
Yeah.
Red Bull has a couple good ones.
Yep.
Like, Max has a couple good ones.
Max has some good ones.
Ferrari has terrible ones. But yeah, Mercedes is just, they killed it. But at the same time, what race was it when Red Bull had that white livery? Because that one was freaking awesome as well.
That was an awesome one too. That was a good one.
That was a badass one.
That was the Honda Special Edition. Red Bull reveals white Honda F1 livery for Turkish GP. Let's see. Yep. There it is. Let's see.
And that was freaking slick, too. Dude, I really wish Ferrari, when they ran those yellow racing suits and all and shirts,
Wish they'd have done the car.
I wish they'd have done the car as a one-off.
God, yes.
That would have been so wild, but I think they could have done it well.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Ferrari, like, kind of, in terms of liveries, they're about as basic as it gets, but it's just so classically good that you just love it.
Yep.
You know, it's like one of those things. It's like some of these classic college football uniforms. They're just perfect.
Yeah. There is that Honda livery.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yep.
Yeah, I would love to. I would have loved to see them do that, man. Those yellow shirts was freaking tight.
Yeah.
And
Because all they did was what, like the yellow on like the top fin of the car, if I remember right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see them do that. I like their one they did last year for their 1000th race.
Yeah.
Or is that what it was?
Oh, dude. Check this out. Hang on. I don't know why this didn't happen.
What, did you find like a concept livery or something? Also, McLaren, what the hell are you doing not running the freaking old school livery for a race? Oh, dude, that's badass.
Yeah.
That would look sick for a one-off.
That's freaking awesome.
I mean, that's kind of a terrible rendition of it.
The picture's not great.
Yeah.
Here we go. I found a better one. That's the first one that I found, and I just went with it. Let's see.
Yeah, come on, McLaren. Run the old school McLaren livery that everybody loves for the MP44 style. Everybody knows what we're talking about. The white with the orange.
Yep.
You know, maybe even throw Marlboro back on there. Come on, let's just see a one-off. Do it. Dude, that would have been so sick.
Look at that.
That would have been so freaking sick.
Yes. Yes, it would have.
God damn it, Ferrari. Why'd you miss your opportunity to do that? They're never going to do that again.
No. Yeah, dude,
Freaking
that would have been awesome.
That'd have been awesome, man.
Yep.
All you teams out there, start doing some cool shit like that, man. Word to the wise. Nostalgia has good effects when it comes to liveries.
Yep.
Pull on the nostalgia strings of the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to you, McLaren. So,
All right. So look, check this out. It's not this year's car, but that's okay. Watch this. Get rid of that. You ready for this?
bruh, come on, man. Like, that's the best looking car on the grid if they do it.
Oh, by far.
Jesus, man.
Yep. That would
That
be
livery,
sick.
that livery even made that Porsche GT3 car look better than any other car on the track at the time.
Mm-hmm. God, that would look good.
Jesus, that is freaking insane.
Now, it would kind of lose its touch because it can't have Marlboro on there.
Yeah, but you could put something to kind of emulate it a little bit, I feel like.
Yeah, you could.
But, man, and it would look even better because these are ground effect cars. Like, they don't have all that winglet shit all over it.
Right.
Oh, it would look so freaking good.
Yep. So, Zach Brown, when you listen to the podcast on Wednesday when it drops, you need to do this. Need to make this happen for next year.
I'm writing him. I'm going to write him an Instagram message tonight.
Do it.
He reads his DMs.
Ask him if he'll come on the show.
I'll do it.
All right. Well, that about wraps all the teams up on this one. What else you got? Anything? I'm ready to call this one a wrap.
Yeah, man. That's it. We done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Season's over.
Yep.
Now the fun part begins, and we just get to speculate and shit.
Yeah, right. Yep. So, all right. So here's the plan. In 2 weeks, we will release the next episode, which will be our 2022 season recap. So we'll take a little break next week, and the following week will be the recap. And at that time, we will let y'all know what the off-season schedule looks like for the podcasts. And we'll go from there.
Might even have some interesting little twists in the season recap podcast.
Very possible. So, all right. I will leave you with this. I don't care what other people think as long as I am happy. The day I die or retire, I have blown all my chances because I don't have the chance anymore to change my image as an F1 driver. You got a name on that one? You know it?
Sounds like something Fernando would say.
Not quite. That is Mr. Seb Vettel. So, all right.
He must have said that a long time ago.
Yeah, I think so. We will wrap this up with Donkey Seb. I think I pronounced that right. I'm not entirely sure. But any last words?
Cheers. Cheers to Seb.
Yep. I'll drink to that.
And Danny Rick.
Mm-hmm.
If he never drives again, still an outstanding F1 career.
Yep. 100%.
Because I think we all talk like it's going to happen, but let's be real, man. Like,
it might not.
It's entirely possible that it doesn't. So cheers to Seb. Cheers to Danny Rick.
Yep.
Obviously, one career was way more decorated than the other. But who's to say if the time frames were reversed, if it wouldn't have been a complete opposite? Because Danny Rick, came in on the back end of Seb's success.
Yep.
And actually beat Seb in Seb's last year with Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 stellar careers, 2 outstanding personalities and people in the sport of F1.
Yep. The grid will definitely miss them next year. So
who's gonna say all these inappropriate things on international TV now that Danny Rick's gone?
Right? Yeah. Well, luckily he'll still be around and in the garage, hopefully. So there's still that chance. There's still hope.
Mm-hmm.
If he's around, they're gonna have a camera on him. So here's to hoping. So, all right, that's it for this one. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us, and we will see y'all in 2 weeks.
Peace.
Later.